So ladies, I have another devotion for you here. It's been a while since I've done this, but I figured I would turn one out here. I've been doing a lot of thinking in the past few days about human depravity, the fact that man has a sinful nature, whether he knows the Lord or not. I think that's fairly obvious, or an imperfect nature. We all are limited. We all make bad choices and things like that. And we walk and have our life in a fallen world. And there's also another element, and that is Satan, through both his direct contact and through his demons, who is active in deceiving the hearts of man, and I think in magnifying the fallen world and the depravity of man. And I don't know if I've done a devotion on these verses, but I'd like to do one now. This is Jeremiah. He was the weeping prophet, the last prophet really of Judah while they were still a sovereign country, and then of course they were taken over by the Babylonians. It's Jeremiah chapter 29, verses 13 and 14. This is the Lord speaking to and through Jeremiah. And he says this: "You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. And I will be found by you," verse 14, declares the Lord, "and will bring you back from captivity." And so God is trying to tell his wayward people, there is a way to me, but that way to me, to actually hearing my word and knowing me, is when you're willing to seek me with all your heart. And so the question, I guess, for me is, well, what does that mean practically for us? And I say this not just to myself, but I think to both of you and to the church as a whole, because God's speaking to people who are more or less within the church, or at least at this time. This is a message not for pagans. This is a message for people who call themselves believers. This is a message for the evangelical churches of America, of which we're a part of, the Metho-Baptirian Costal mix. And the point that I'm making here is that if we're willing to get underneath all the rules and regulations which we tend to raise up, which really aren't part of God's word, due to our own sinful nature within the church, and we're willing to get underneath a lot of the go with the flow, this is the standard thinking, that's going to be where we will find the Lord. And that's really quite profound, because it goes against, at least for me, the basic rule and direction of most of our churches. And I think it also illustrates who the prophets really were. They were the Jeremiah 29, 13, and 14 kind of people. They were willing to get behind the system itself that man had concocted to represent God, but which really didn't represent God. A system that was erected out of man's inherent inbred stupidity, out of man's inherent sinfulness, and out of man's pride, which of course made him subject more or less to Satan's influence. So anyway, just some food for thought for both of you. This is harder than you think it is, and it's also easier than you think it is. God bless you both.